thanks for having me. I'm Dan Chuparkov, and I'm from a company called BigPanda. I'll talk a tiny bit about that, but I'll try to not make this a marketing pitch at all. If you guys have questions about our product and how it can help you, let me know after. I'm here today to talk about ChatOps, as you guys would imagine. My presentation is called ChatOps for the Win. I'm going to talk about how we use ChatOps, how it makes our team bigger, how it helps us automate and scale the ops that we're trying to do every day. So first, as she said, I'm Dan Chuparkov. This is me. I'm Director of Growth and Engagement at BigPanda, and that's my wife. And before BigPanda, I used to work at Atlassian, so hopefully there's some Jira and HipChat, Bitbucket fans in the room. So the first thing I think you guys are probably thinking is this Director of Growth and Engagement, that sounds like marketing, and this is like a DevOps promotion, and why the hell is this guy on stage? So first, before I get into too much, I'll talk a little bit about my exposure to ops in the past. And it started on February 1st, 2009, and I know that specific date. It's like burned in my mind forever, and I'll tell you why. And does anyone know what happened on that day? You'll get to it. OK, so this is the day I learned what ChatOps was, but more specifically, here's what happened. So I was working at a team that was working on a pretty cool project for Universal Studios. And the result of that project was this. I'll show you. OK, does anybody remember this commercial? OK, awesome. So first, what does that have to do with ops, right? Nothing, right? I actually chopped the last second and a half off of this commercial. The last second and a half went like this. Visit universalheroes.com for a free 7-day ticket. OK, so also, this aired for the first time, only time ever, on Super Bowl Sunday at halftime, February 1st, 2009. So that year, 140 million people were watching the Super Bowl at halftime moment. So 140 million people heard me say, come to our website, we'll give you a free trip to Florida, right? Now, can anyone guess what percentage of 140 million people will come to a website right after you say that for a chance to win a 7-day trip to Florida? Okay. OK, actually, we have no idea, because everything broke. Everything crashed. The DNS resolution wasn't working. The load balancers failed. Like everything crashed, right? So tons and tons of people came, all tried to register for this promotion. Everything crashed. We're on the phone with like Universal Studios CTO and like 100 million other people, and they're like, what the hell's going on? You guys need to fix this soon. And so then they said, hey, our parent company is NBC, and NBC is hosting this or airing the Super Bowl. So they're like, I bet NBC will give us another chance. So they said, hey, good news, in another quarter of football, you get another chance to air this promotion. So just fix it all before that happens, right? So we're all like watching TV on the corner, and meanwhile we're like all trying to like deploy more servers. We were taking stuff off of production servers, like just deleting it and putting this on instead, and letting those other things fail whale for a little while, right? Meanwhile, like everyone in the whole company is trying to like deploy new servers, and actually it was Rackspace was our hosting provider at the time. But anyway, so we're all deploying more stuff, and chat was the way that we all kept in sync, because we were all in different locations, and at the time we were actually multiple companies were involved in doing this. So chat with AIM in particular back then was the only way we could communicate across company. Anyway, so all that happened. A quarter of football is elapsing, and we're trying to get stuff redeployed and up and running and working. And we're all like, watching football and hoping they call a timeout, like to just give us like another 30 seconds. Ultimately, the next commercial aired, and still half our stuff was halfway put together. But the next time it aired, we gave away 100,000 free trips to Florida in 42 seconds, which was pretty kick-ass. And so at that moment, like that was a pivotal moment in ops for me, because one, I noticed that, like, one, our infrastructures were going to need to be a lot more dynamic in the future, right? Like, if what I really wanted for was when my load balancers started to fail, I wanted it to automatically deploy new servers for me, right? I shouldn't have had to call up random project managers and have them running scripts that they had no business running, right? So that was one thing. And the second thing I noticed is that our teams were really, really distributed, and chat was the one thing that helped us pull all together. So like that was the moment we sort of stopped relying on email a little bit and started shifting more toward real-time chat engagement. Anyway, so that's my street cred backstory. So I'm not just a marketing guy. Okay, so all of that was like 6 years ago. Now I'm at a place called BigPanda, and if anyone noticed, under the sign-up sheet, there's some cool shirts that look like this. Help yourself. We'll run out, so the first ones back there will get free shirts. BigPanda is, we are attempting to automate and scale incident management for op teams. So all our ops teams have, Nagios running, and App Dynamics, and Splunk, and Isinga, and Zabbix, and a million different things that are helping you monitor the health of your organization. BigPanda pulls it all together into one centralized place. So it's pretty cool. You should check it out. BigPanda.io is the URL. And I'll answer questions after the presentation more specifically about what we do. This is what it looks like. All of these are incidents, right? So a bunch of alerts together all make this incident. So BigPanda will read Nagios automatically and cluster related things together. It's pretty kick-ass. Okay, so with that out of the way, let me jump over to what we're doing. So we're a startup. We have a relatively small team. We actually have a bigger team than this now, but until there's 20 people, it doesn't fit the right slide proportions, so I'm ignoring some of the people on the team, but trust me, they're here. One of them is right there. Sorry, Mike. You'll get on the stage. As soon as we have 20 people on the team, then it will fit nicely, and I'll start including Mike. Okay, so the point of this slide is, we have a relatively small team, and on this team, there's only one guy that's really our ops team, right? But like, he can't do everything, right? So the way we help scale what a guy can work on is by involving the whole rest of the team. And we involve the whole rest of the team in troubleshooting and in creating new things using chat as our mechanism. So here's how that works. So 5 steps to ChatOpsing, just like BigPanda. So the first thing is get chat, right? Who here is using HipChat already? All right, and who here is using Slack? All right. So it really doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not at Atlassian anymore, so I don't care which one you get. I like HipChat better, but so get HipChat or get Slack. Whatever. So that's sort of the entry level, right? Just about everybody here has some sort of chat. So the rest of this presentation is going to be about sort of taking it beyond where you're just using it for basic communication. So the second thing is, one of the best things about HipChat is that rooms persist even if some of the people aren't online, right? So like a bunch of people on my development team can be having a conversation in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping, and then I wake up in the morning and I see the whole entire thread, right? So chat rooms really help to take communication and allow it to happen asynchronously, which is really important today. So chat rooms are your central point of communication. My biggest recommendation is don't create a million of them, right? Create a small number of rooms. Ideally, what you're aiming for is no more than rooms than can fit on your screen, right? If your users have to keep scrolling up and down all day long, they're not going to see urgent things, right? So pick yourself a half a dozen or 10 rooms and try to limit it to that. I'll talk about the actual rooms that we use at BigPanda. So this is how we're using HipChat and rooms to communicate around what's going on in ops. We have one room for operations, one room for alerts, support, GitHub stuff, daily, which is kind of cool, I'll talk about in a second, and then pictures of cats, right? Okay, so those things in a little bit more detail. So operations, what's going on in this room won't quite make sense until I give you a few more slides. But what you should know is that this is the communication about all of our continuous integration and continuous deployment stuff. Anything that's getting done to servers is happening and communicated on in this room. And I'll go into these details in a second. Alerts is another big one. So what we want ultimately is not a person who's on call and carries a pager around in the middle of the night, right? We want a central repository where all of our communication is happening, right? That's the whole point of BigPanda in the first place, right? So we want to make sure that our ChatOps strategy follows that same philosophy. Now, this is a little bit of a placeholder for us right now because our alerts chat room, we are currently working on integration between HipChat and Slack and BigPanda. So ultimately what we want is alerts from Nagios to come in, get consolidated into a smaller number of incidents, and then we want those incidents to be communicated throughout our team. So we're working on HipChat and Slack integration, and that'll be available soon. Support is the next room that we all collaborate around. So we have customers, and they have requests, and they have confusion, and they have questions, and all of those things come to us through support. We're using Intercom as our support ticket catcher. I don't know if anybody's tried Intercom yet, but it's pretty cool. Check it out if you haven't yet. So Intercom tickets are coming in all day, and those tickets are getting assigned to people, and people are working in Intercom. But also, every time those things happen, it gets added to this thread in HipChat. So all of us that aren't manning support tickets all day can still come to this and get an overview of what's going on day to day. So it's pretty cool. GitHub is the next room, and this is pretty critically important. So we have GitHub connected to HipChat. So everything that's happening when we push new commits, when we do builds, all of that is available. All of our interaction with GitHub is logged and communicated to the whole team here, so they can all see exactly what's going on without having to dig for it. Next, we're using a room which we call daily for stand-ups. Really, it's really an asynchronous stand-up meeting, right? All these people can comment about what they're working on for the day, and it doesn't all have to happen in the same 5-minute period. Typically, our people all do it in the same 5 period because they're all together working next to each other. And so they do this at the same time. But this is really cool because at BigPanda, we're in 2 different countries. Half of our team is in Israel, half of them are here in Mountain View. And it's really, really cool for some of us who are sleeping in the middle of the night when they have this stand-up to be able to take a look at that and see what's going on. It also takes a 10-minute stand-up and turns it into a 30-second stand-up, which is pretty cool. So that's daily. Finally, we do have a room dedicated to just blowing off steam, right? Like sometimes we do find pictures of cats. Sometimes we find a cool tweet online that we want to share with everybody, like, whoa, what the fuck is this pile of clothes doing on the floor? I struck down a Jedi, right? So we have things like that we share. We want to make sure that our GitHub room is just GitHub stuff, and it doesn't have a bunch of pictures of cats in it. We want to still give ourselves some sort of outlet for screwing around sometimes. That's critically important. Okay, So those are the 6 rooms that we really use for most of our ops-related stuff. Now I'm going to talk about how we take it a little bit beyond just talking about problems and reading about problems into things, making things actionable. So next, once you have chat, another prerequisite of the BigPanda style of ChatOpsing is to get Ansible or Chef or Puppet or Salt or whatever you like better. But we like Ansible especially for ops. For a couple of reasons. One, it's the idempotence that allows us to run Ansible playbooks over and over again without breaking anything new. It gives us the ability to automate the fixing of some problems because we can run stuff over and over again without breaking anything new. If we run some deploy thing and it was already run before and doesn't need to be deployed again, Ansible it won't do it won't hurt anything. And that's really, really important because ultimately what BigPanda is going for is a world in which problems can automatically heal themselves, right? And Ansible's idempotence helps us ensure that when we get to that place at some point in the future, we'll be able to run these things over and over again as many times as we want without hurting anything. So Ansible works for us. We like it a lot. We use it for all of our server provisioning, all our server orchestration, and all of our application deployment. And when I say all of it, even things that we set up already manually when we were first getting started, we've now redeployed using Ansible just to ensure that there is no server in our infrastructure that's not exactly the same and exactly the way we designed it, right? So Ansible helps us do that. You could do it with chef recipes or whatever works for your infrastructure. But the important thing is have some sort of an automation layer in what you're doing physically to servers. You can see what we're doing at Atlassian or at BigPanda where in our GitHub account. So we've exposed most of our Ansible playbooks and things like that at GitHub BigPanda.io. OK, next, fourth, Hubot. Is anyone using Hubot yet? Awesome, and a small number. So you should check Hubot out. It's really, really cool. So Hubot is GitHub's human bot. Something, I guess that's how it came, right? Hubot is, it's based on CoffeeScripts or JavaScripts. It allows you to very, very easily create a bot that's hooked up to chat. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Essentially, Hubot is just a listener, and it's looking at all the text that happens in a room. When it finds something like the word problem, it can do something like send a picture of a troll face, right? Anytime somebody says, hey, I think there's a problem, troll face, right? That happens over and over again. You can also do much more useful things, which I'll show you in a second. So to get Hubot, it's at GitHub, Hubot. And then there's a Hubot HipChat connector, which is fairly easy to set up. So get those two things, and you will have a huge library of already developed Hubot scripts that will easily connect to your HipChat instance. There's also one for Slack, so you could do that too. OK, so then once you have a bot, then you're going to start thinking of some unique things that only apply to your infrastructure. So then you're going to want to customize it. And that's what we've done with Beanbot. So Beanbot at BigPanda is our customized version of Hubot. And can anybody imagine why we called it Beanbot? Any Ender's Game fans anywhere? So, right, Bean is Ender's trusty sidekick, wouldn't go anywhere without him, and Beanbot is that same thing to us, right? So Beanbot is extremely helpful. He does a lot of things for us within our network. So I'll show you what. So the first thing we wanted to do is make the scariest part of doing builds the easiest. What I mean by that is, you do all this work to get code released, and like 100 people look at it, and there's peer reviews and multiple people helping everyone solve problems, and then you go to deploy stuff to some server, and like no one really looked at the stuff the ops guy did when he was deploying it. Like who knows, there could be some servers that aren't in sync. And so we wanted to make sure that that was never a possibility. And so we use Beanbot and Hubot and Ansible together to make sure it's as simple as saying deploy BigPanda, and it will go to GitHub and get the latest version as long as it's all OK. It will pull the code down, it'll push it all to the right servers, it'll make sure that all the prerequisites are done. Because we've looked at that Ansible playbook and we've peer reviewed it and QA'd it and run it 100 times, so we know it's going to work flawlessly every time. So when we say deploy BigPanda or deploy docs or deploy any of the modules we have within our software base, we know that it's going to work flawlessly every time. And now that we've hooked it up to chat, we can make it so that no one, even our ops guy, doesn't SSH to servers ever. So no one touches servers anymore. Everything goes through Ansible. And no one touches Ansible because everything goes through Beanbot, right? So here's how that works. So we would type in HipChat, we would type this exactly, right? So we ask Beanbot to get the changes from BigPanda data API. So Beanbot will then look in GitHub. It'll tell us exactly who's changed what, what's still outstanding, what's on production, what's not. Literally looks like this. So Shai said, hey, Beanbot, get me the changes. Beanbot replies with the changes. It's really, really cool for knowing exactly what's new on the infrastructure, what's been deployed, and what hasn't. Pretty cool. You can also, that was changes. So first I looked at changes using the Beanbot BigPanda changes command. And then I have an alternate one. If everything is OK and ready, I say Beanbot deploy data API, and it gets the code out of GitHub. It runs our Ansible scripts, does everything, gets it all the way running. If something, like I could run that right now, and I'm a marketing guy, right? I can run this as many times as I want, and it won't run if it's not allowed to run, if the stuff's not ready to go, if it hasn't passed all the unit tests, if the Ansible script is missing any prerequisites. So it's pretty cool. It's made all of our ops stuff very, very fail-safe. It's helped us enable complete synchronization of our infrastructure. Every server looks exactly the way we want it, and it's pretty cool. So all of this is what it looks like. You say Beanbot deploy data API, and it starts a build. It gives you the log. It'll tell you in big red text if it failed. It's logged. The user that called the command is logged so that we still have accountability for the people that did it. All works flawlessly, and we use it every day. So this is sort of how things work. Our own team always talks with HipChat, even our ops guy. HipChat always talks to Beanbot. Beanbot talks to Ansible, and Ansible pushes stuff to servers. So this is our SSH-free infrastructure management plan, and all of it is connected through HipChat. So all of us can look at HipChat and see the GitHub thread, see the operations thread. We can see what code has been deployed. We can always look and see when code was deployed. So if we have some new Nagios alert going off all of a sudden that wasn't there before, we can look at the operations thread and see, oh, look, Shai just deployed code. Right? So it really, really helps us give the accountability and really shortens our mean time to respond, because we can easily see exactly what changed on every single server. So that's how that all goes together. So I started this story talking about the one ops guy, and everybody here knows being on call sucks, right? There's a lot of people saying, hey, let's make on-call suck less. Prior to being at BigPanda, I spent a lot of time in the agile project management space, and since 2000, the agile movement has been about distributing accountability, right? The whole team is in charge of making sure everything is fine, right? It's not a guy's job to make sure that BigPanda doesn't fail, right? It's all of our job to make sure BigPanda doesn't fail. So don't try to make on-call suck less, right? Just stop doing it that way. It's about team accountability now, and BigPanda helps do that with chat, and it makes us more scalable, it makes our teamwork better, and it makes our uptime a lot closer to 100%. So that's all I've got. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak, and if anyone has any questions, come find me after.